We bring you the best guests in all of true crime. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. Here's your host, Emmy Award-winning broadcaster, Joel Waldman.
Oh, what's up, STS Nation, and welcome to Surviving the Survivor. It is the show that brings you the very best guests in all of true crime on trending criminal cases, and the Dan Markel murder has been one that has been trending for the better part of 11 years. Dan Markel, the FSU law professor, shot and killed in his driveway back on July 18th, 2014, succumbing to his injuries the next day. The two hitmen were found through gumshoe police work. That would be Sigfredo Garcia serving a life sentence. Luis Rivera, he's about to get out of federal prison and go into state prison, which we'll touch upon. And then Charlie Adelson, the ex-brother-in-law, in prison for life in South Dakota right now. And Donna Adelson was set to go on trial 3 days ago. That trial didn't happen. It's pushed to August 19th. And today, we get news that Donna Adelson has been moved out of Leon County, the place that she despises. That is where Tallahassee is. We started getting a flood of alerts and calls about this, including from other media outlets. Donna Adelson no longer at the Leon County Jail. Now, the question is why, and hopefully in a moment we're going to get some better answers than I'm about to give you. Joey Rojas set to join us. He is a former BOP, Bureau of Prison Workers, specifically in Florida. He's going to jump on, as is Tim Jansen, who's collecting information. But I wanted to hop on first here just to kind of quell the nerves. Donna has not been let out of jail. She has been moved to another jail, and that is in Wakulla County. And if you'll recall, I believe it is Wakulla County that has sort of a reception center, if you will, for new prisoners, which is where Charlie Adelson was for a while. But within the Wakulla County prison, I understand that there is a holding jail that has a better, perhaps, medical service there, but that's not really the reason. We're going to get into why. But at around 4:44:06, we like to be precise here at STS Nation, 4:44:06 this afternoon, the alert went out that Donna Adelson presumably was moved earlier that day. Earlier today. Let's get into it. Donna Adelson now, this is the CBS station in Tallahassee, is reporting that she was transferred from the Leon County Detention Facility to the Wakulla Detention Facility. Again, that is housed within the confines of the state prison. And this, according to court records, and look who it is, friendly face during uncertain times. Tim Jansen is here. Tim Jansen, you're the first guy I called, and you were, of course, on hole number 18. You're looking good, though, Tim. You're looking good. Playing golf with your daughter, which is a beautiful thing on a Sunday. What are you hearing? Because I know all the panic calls started coming in. Were people calling you because they know that Tim's going to have the answers?
Yeah, I had some text. People want to know if she died, if she's in the hospital. And I think everybody would have known if she died or was in the hospital.
So she's not. Now, Tim, you know WCTV well. They're the CBS affiliate in Tallahassee, and they're reporting that Josh Zellman is saying that the transfer is because of a new Leon County Sheriff's Office policy regarding inmates' access to tablets. And he said that the policy would have greatly limited Donna's ability to communicate with her legal team before next week's change of venue and the case management hearing and her upcoming trial. So I guess we got to take this at face value because the defense has been a focal point as well. But at least according to Josh Zellman, Tim, he's saying the move was made because of the tablet policy. And by the way, I reached out to our friend Monica, who knows a lot. And look at this, Joe Patuto's jumping in. I feel comforted with familiar faces, and we're waiting for Joey Rojas. But Tim Jansen, what's the deal here? I mean, she's got to prepare, but she had to prepare at Leon County. Is it just because of some kind of tablet policy?
Well, the tablet, you can do more than just communicate and send emails. Apparently, I was told by Dan that he did mock trials while Charlie was in the jail through the tablet, which is a very unusual thing because mock trials take hours. So I think it's a little bit about nonsense because one, Donna doesn't have to do any preparation for the change of venue. She's not testifying. She's not adding anything to, she's not going to be a witness in the motion for venue. They're going to bring an expert in and they're going to talk about all the publicity and things. So it's a smaller jail. They have to travel 30 minutes to get there. It's not as secure as Leon. There might be more chance to, in the limited visitation hours, they might be able to get in and visit after hours, where Leon, it's much more difficult. Um, and I don't know if they have tablets at Wakulla. They may, but it's like Donna thinks she's at the Ritz, right? She's not at the Ritz, and she shouldn't get any special privilege. She's had plenty of time to communicate. You can do a visit with your lawyers, and the lawyers in Tallahassee. It's not like Dan, who had to do it because he was down south. They live in Tallahassee. Go to the jail, visit her.
Yeah. So we're joined by the Professor Joe Patuto, and again, Joey Rojas is supposed to be joining, who was a former Florida DOC worker, that is Department of Corrections. Joe Patuto, you hear that Donna Adelson is moved. What was your first thought before we called in a panic asking you to come on?
Why?
Yeah, good question. That's still my question, because I don't
Actually,
trust
the
Josh
first
Selman.
thought I had was maybe, there was an immediate threat of danger to her, and that's why this was done, and it was done so quickly. But, that was my first, it was why, then it was maybe that. And no more thoughts than that. I just heard Tim, and I agree with everything he said.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, obviously, the elephant in the room is this latest motion filed to recuse Judge Everett, which includes some potentially, damning allegations against the defense, having maybe, and these are just allegations, maybe having brought in cell phones into the Leon County Jail. Do you think, Joe, it has anything to do with this? And obviously, we're going to ask Joey Rojas about that.
No, but I did think, in trying to figure out why that all these motions, many of which I thought had no merit at all, and yet they're incessant, and why the push and the repeated push to have Judge Everett recused. I did think that perhaps there was some possibility of a strategy that even though the motions would not be granted, that they were hoping that on close questions, Everett might lean a little more towards the defense because of all the claims they made that he couldn't be fair. I don't think that would occur, but I did think that maybe that might be what was going on. But otherwise, I don't know. I thought the motions to have him disqualified because of the information on the wiretap and on the two other ways that they accessed information as to who was making calls from what phone and where the lawyers were at the time. It seemed to me that if they were right, that there was nothing to it, then there would be no bias on the part of the judge, because the judge would know that the state looked into it and there was nothing. And if there was something there, he's a professional and he can, separate what he knows from what he has to do with regard to the case coming up. And to some extent, that information might have become public or available to another judge anyway. So I haven't, I mean, that's a long way to say what I started with. I have not understood the number of motions and the subject of the motions that they've been making. And then in addition, I think the way they write and the way they make legal argument is appalling. I taught appellate advocacy. I did some training, for the new judges. And I just don't like the way they write what they write.
Joe Rojas is here. Joe, I'm going to keep you muted. I'll unmute you, but a
Sure.
little static. That's Joe, not you, Joe. Joey Rojas. We got a Joe and a Joey on the show. Tim Jansen. One of the things I think we're all taking for granted is not most of us don't live in Florida. I happen to, but tell us how far is Wakulla from Leon County? What do you know about the this is apparently a holding jail inside the state prison there. So what do we know about Wakulla? And then I'll go to Joey Rojas.
Well, that's two different things. There's a Wakulla Correctional, got nothing to do with the Wakulla County Jail. The Wakulla Correction is closer in the town, farther out. But the Wakulla County Jail is just like a Leon County Jail. It's a county facility. It's smaller. How would you describe it? It's not like Leon County's a big jail. Wakulla's a very small jail. And it's staffed by, guards there, but I wouldn't say it's overstaffed. I'd say it's probably understaffed. And it's a different sheriff running it. Jared Miller is the sheriff, different county. And these jails do this a lot. Sometimes they'll send an inmate, a high profile, from one county to another if there's threats against them. Like if someone's charged with murder and they got friends in the jail, they'll move them to a different facility for safety. They move officers if they get charged. Like if you get a Leon County officer charged, they're not going to keep him in Leon County Jail.
Yeah. Welcome to Joe Rojas, who worked with the Bureau of Prisons within the state of Florida. So, Joey, we called you right after we called Tim and Joe, our regulars. So, the CBS station in Tallahassee, Joe, is reporting that has to do with tablets, that the Leon County policy was, I guess, too stifling for Donna Adelson and would have limited her ability. Tim says, as a criminal defense attorney, she really didn't need the tablet to prepare too much for these upcoming hearings. So what are you reading between the tea leaves? Why would Donna Adelson, 75 years old, be moved out of Leon County into Wakulla, a neighboring county now?
Transfers consist of a couple of reasons. Could be a disciplinary transfer, protective custody, or a court hearing. So the court hearing, I would assume, fits into this criteria. So those are pretty much the three reasons why an inmate, doesn't matter who it is, will get transferred, especially to a jail, to a county jail, and then prepare for a court hearing.
Yeah. Joe, this is interesting. Joey, I'll call you Joey because we don't get confused with the professor who is Joe Pato. But so Joey, Raven has an interesting question. I mean, all phones are monitored. Are tablets monitored in a similar way? Can you, if you're a prosecutor, can you listen in on tablet calls?
Everything in the prison is monitored, except I think between an attorney and an inmate. I don't believe that's monitored because that's privileges. So that won't be monitored. Okay.
And from Jersey Girl, who decides to move her? Where does the ultimate call come? Who makes that call?
That'll come from that'll be from the courts through litigation and through the system. Whether they can move them. Yeah.
It would go from the sheriff to sheriff. The sheriff in Leon probably called the sheriff from Wakulla and asked a favor, and they do it all the time.
And Tim, one of the things I'm hearing is that the Leon County Jail is suffering from overcrowding. So this also could be an issue of there are just too many people in Leon County. What do you know about this?
That's for sure. Leon County is always overcrowded. It got so bad at some point they had people sleeping on no beds on the floor. And I think the maximum capacity is 1,000. And I think they've had like 1,500 before. 1,200. So they're always trying to get them out of the county.
What's
jail.
Max capacity, did you say?
I think it's like 1,100 or 1,200.
And that's for the women's side or the
No, that's for the
that's
whole jail.
the whole
And I
jail.
think
Okay.
Wakulla County probably max is probably 350,
Okay.
34. It's much
Okay.
smaller.
Joe Patuta and Tim, I know you got a dinner, so you hop off whenever you got to hop off. But thank you for coming on, even for this little bit of time. But Tennis Girl 101. So all the other inmates, Joe Patuto, there goes Tim. So all the other inmates with upcoming trials, they're going to be transferred to have a tablet. You know, we talk about this a lot, Joe Patuto. You know, money and justice are somehow correlated, it seems. The more money you have, it seems like the better the chance you have of either getting out or getting better circumstances. What do you think about this? I mean, do you think this is a high profile / money influence type, you know, granting of this request because of the influence and the high profile nature of this case?
I guess it's always possible, but to really answer that, you'd have to know what exactly were the reasons for the transfer. And I know that one of the Tallahassee stations said it was because there was going to be a different rule with regard to use of tablets in Leon County. And her lawyers made the claim that they needed more access to her on the tablet. If that's true, that would certainly be a reason for the change. And if that's true, it would not be a reason, could not be a reason exclusive to her. Because if it's true that, and I heard Tim, and he's right, the motion's coming up, she doesn't need, not that she's going to do, but in preparation for the trial, if it's true that Leon County is going to be more limited in an inmate's access to lawyers through the tablet, and the lawyers make the claim that they need access, sure, they can drive back and forth, but the inconvenience and the extra effort might well lead a judge at least to decide that a transfer was warranted. And then any inmate who could make similar claims on similar facts should be treated the same way. The one thing that nobody wants, no matter who the inmate is to impede that individual's opportunity to raise the best defense possible. Nobody wants to get in the middle of the lawyer-client relationship. And so if that claim is made and it's made with, evidence supporting, then any inmate should be entitled to the same treatment.
Yeah. Joey Rojas, to you, tell us about the protocol for the actual movement, especially a high profile inmate like Donna Adelson. We have video of her, not right now, but we've had it in the past, of her being moved from Miami-Dade County up to Leon County. And boy, that was quite the show. They had to stop. They had to get medics. She was hyperventilating. All sorts of things went on during that transfer. This, thankfully, is a much shorter transfer. But walk us through this. They come, they get her. How much time does she have to collect her belongings? Does she go with other inmates? Is she cuffed at the, does she have the waist chain link on, her feet shackled? How does it all work?
Protocol is they don't tell them when they're moving because it's a safety issue. Risk of escape, so they shouldn't know when they're being transferred. Usually it's foot shackles, hand shackles, and what's called a little black box. That way you put the black box goes over the handcuffs and it stays secured, and they move he or she. So they can move with a group or they can move solo. It all depends. Looks like this is going to be a solo move, so they wouldn't notify her. They just pick her up. It could be in the middle of the night, could be in the daytime, could be in the afternoon. They shouldn't be able to tell her when she's transferring because that's a security issue for the officers.
So she would just get a proverbial knock on her prison bar, jail bar, right? She just says, "Hey."
Most of the time, because remember, we want to prevent a possible escape. Having her set up. Not that she's going to do this, but it's always prison protocol. You don't tell inmates at all when they're moving because it's for the safety of the community, the safety of the officers, and the safety of the inmate as well.
And what about her lip balm and her ear canal wax remover and these things that she needs to bring with her on her trip to Wakulla? Does she have time? Does she allowed to bring a bag of her belongings?
I don't think so. I highly doubt it. I think you bring in your bare essentials because, like I said, it's a security issue. Security is more important than personal hygiene because. Like I said, it's if you were to tell every inmate when they're being transferred, think of the security issues that can happen. You put the lives of staff in danger, the community in danger, because they'd be able to reach out to their friends and they'll help me escape or whatever. So that's why you never tell an inmate when they transfer or when they're moving.
And Joe, this question is going to get us both, or definitely me, into trouble, but you just for answering it. Who's tougher to deal with? The female inmates, particularly on these moves, or the male inmates? Who complains more? Probably the men, I would guess.
I don't have any personal information about that, but my guess would be contra to yours, given that women tend to value, hygiene. Now I'm going to be getting in trouble, but having our personal items along. I remember stories that I don't know where I read it, but when women first were in the Army in World War II, that they wanted places where they could iron the uniforms and cubby holes for, the cosmetics and things. You never hear that from men. But without regard to men or women, I know Donna is high profile. In fact, I've been sitting here wondering, it's too bad there isn't a camera in the jail to see her reaction when they told her you're going now. I can imagine it would be quite interesting to watch.
Yeah. Joey Rojas. Joey, that's my fault. How about it? Who's tougher to deal with when you're working inside? Is it the men or the women?
The women.
The women.
There you go.
It's and this is not just coming from me working 30 years experience. You ask any female corrections officer, they'll tell you the same.
Why? Tell me why. I'm curious.
They just said it. They're just needy and complain. It's just. I'm being honest. It's most men don't care. They don't care, and you get more. They're not used to being incarcerated compared to most males, and so it is definitely the women.
Yeah. By the way, the Devil in the Ozarks, otherwise known as Grant Harden, captured today after 2 weeks on the lam, caught just a mile and a half from the prison where he escaped, and he was wearing a makeshift. It sounds like he was in a different uniform, kind of like a makeshift corrections officer uniform. And I think he was down by a creek, if I read it correctly, but he's back in custody. And now the big manhunt in the country is for a guy named Travis Decker, who authorities say murdered his 3 daughters. And he's a former Army Ranger, considered armed and dangerous. And he is, at least at this point, believed to be hiding out in the forested areas of the remote parts of Washington State. But Joe Pato, and we did a show on that today, if you want to go back and check it out. It's pretty interesting, with a former hostage negotiator from Seattle. Joe Pato, someone said that all Zellman does, and Jackie Fulford, delay. What's your best guess as to what, we know, I guess, what precipitated it, but how did this go down? Do you think Donna said, "Hey, Josh," and gives him like the little elbow, "I can't really use my tablet here. Why don't you file a motion?" Was a motion filed? How does this all play out from a legal standpoint?
Well, it doesn't appear as though it was a motion. It appears that there was but I can't tell for sure, but it doesn't look like it was a motion from what I see here. It looks more like there was a complaint made or a request made that they needed more contact with her, and the jail acceded to the request, because it doesn't look like anything went before the judge. Possibly it did. If it did, then it would have been a formal request to the judge. But I can't see anything in what I have. I don't have everything, but what I see doesn't make it look like that.
Yeah. And Joey,
I'm sure she complained about it. And I'm sure it's inconvenient, for a lawyer to have to deal with a client when the client is in custody and they're trying to prepare for trial. But again, Tim is right. The timing is a little odd, because the next 2 motions, she really has nothing much to say about them. The venue motion is going to be that company from, what is it, New York, that they hired to make the claim that there's too much publicity, and that's a company that does more than prison cases or criminal trials. They do things for other people who want to get more publicity or see where the publicity hits are coming from. There's no need for her to be, there's nothing she can do to participate in that. She has nothing to offer there except that she wants to be somewhere other than Leon County for the trial. And the other one is a case management where, again, it doesn't seem like she's got anything to say. So it does seem to be a little unusual in terms of where the timing is. But of course, if that trial stays on schedule, it's going to be August. And they probably do have things to do to prepare for the trial where her input will be necessary. And, in a perfect world, I've never worked in a jail, Joey, so I don't know how that world operates, but it seems to me in a perfect world, if you can make something happen and it's easy to do and it's not much stress on the system and somebody has a reasonably good reason for why they want it, and you would try to do it if it's possible.
Yeah, for those just joining us, the reason we're on the air late on a Friday, at least in Miami and the East Coast and in New Jersey, is because Donna Adelson was moved from Leon County, the place she loathes. I wonder if she likes it any better in bustling Wakulla County. She didn't
I'm
like
wondering if they're going to ask for a change of venue there and say, well, she's there already, so move the trial there.
Well, they're planning on those are some of the hearings this coming week. By the way, they are almost back to back, separated by one day, but on the 11th and the 13th, I believe, of this coming week,
yes,
there are 2 hearings. So I guess that's going to be rough for Donna. She's going to be carted back and forth, and when they're in court, I know they're woken up around 2-3 in the morning to go on a field trip, and now she's going to be going on multiple field trips next week. She's going right back to Leon County, so I don't think she's going to be loving that. Joey Rojas. So we talked about the transport. She's got the black box on her hand. She's, buckled at the waist and at the wrist. But once she gets to the jail in Wakulla, everyone knows who she is there because there's 300 people or 350 people. And she's a high profile, high priority inmate. So what do they do with her when she arrives, Joey? Walk us through that. Oh, I'm sorry. That's my fault. Go ahead, Joe.
They'll put her through what's called transfer and receiving, which is TNR, go through the motions, check her out, do a medical assessment, and understand herself. And since she's high profile, she'll be by herself and, and monitored, so, I mean, nothing grandeur, just, process like any other inmate. And since she's high profile, she'll be in a cell alone.
Mm. Yeah. So, I mean, will she be? So she had requested to be in protective custody in Leon County because she didn't like people annoying her. Is she going to get that wish granted in Wakulla?
Yes. I'm assuming so. Look, this is a high-profile case. She'll get PC. PC. And like I said, you don't want nothing happening to her either because this is high profile. So she'll get the PC treatment.
Do they have to make their own assessment there, or can they take the assessment from Leon that she needs it?
They should make their own. They'll take the assessments from Leon and they'll make their own assessment. You always want to have, they'll do both. You want to have the highest, utmost, protocol and protection and be careful. No liability. So they'll do both, and they should do both.
Raven saying a point that might be true. I think this might be the first time she's seen trees in 2 years. It's got to be very weird when you're let out. They gave her tea and crumpets like Queen Elizabeth upon her arrival in Wakulla. Now, Joe, I saw an interesting question, which is now that they moved her upon their own request, are they going to, could you see a scenario where Josh Zellman and Jackie Fulford, Donna's attorneys, now say, well, she was moved, so now it was, there's this delay, and we've got these hearings coming up. Now we need more time for these hearings. Are we going to see a delay in these hearings next week?
Well, I don't think so. The fact that she was moved should have nothing to do with their readiness to do the 2 hearings next week. I can't imagine what it would be. They're not traveling with her in the van that's going from one place to the other. They can sit in their offices and, do whatever they do, writing their badly written briefs and motions for the hearings. They don't need her to be around. So no, I would be really surprised if that were a consequence.
Yeah, and Joey, just back to my other question. I mean, I don't know. Obviously, it's a jail, so they're not going to be the most savory characters in the world. But Donna's a big target, so do they have to leave her? I mean, will she have contact with any other inmates while she's in Wakulla, at least for this? I don't know if it's going to be a long or a short stay. We'll ask you that too. But the time that she's there, is she going to be essentially segregated from the population?
Well, they put her in PC. Yes, she will. I mean, that's, I mean, when you're in PC, I mean, they could put you in a cell next to somebody else, but that's it. But you won't be interacting with another inmate. So PC is PC. You could have individual PC cells in the same range. So, I mean, that's the closest thing she can get. It's not like she's a PC by herself and then other inmates on the other side of the compound. No, they'll put her in a range, cell alone, protective custody, with other inmates that also PC, and she will not be able to interact, like mingle with other inmates because she'll be in PC for her own protection.
And Joey, someone I think is joking because they're asking if she can watch this show on the tablet. What do these tablets provide? What can you do on these tablets, Joey?
Most of these tablets are probably for legal purposes only. You'll not be able to watch TV, go on the internet and stuff like that. It'll be just strictly for legal services only. It's not going to be able to link unless you're not going to be able to tap into it and go on the internet and surf the internet, look at your favorite shows and stuff like that. It's strictly for what's it called, like legal services only, and that's it. Email your attorneys and stuff like that. That's it.
And Joey, since you've got the inside track and we put out great, honest, important, newsworthy content, you think you can cut a deal for me with the BOP for like $300 million a year for exclusive rights to my content? I think that's possible. So. I'll give you 10%. I promise. I'll give you 10%. Beth Warren here says, doesn't Fulford, and I think this might be accurate, does she live in Wakulla? She has her funeral home there. So maybe Jackie Fulford, Joe Pato was saying, hey, I'm tired of driving into Leon County. We don't know. But oh, man, this is, by the way, we're just going to go a couple more minutes. So please, if you have some questions, now's the time. Put in the triple Q and get those to us. And I'll get a few questions in before we sign off. I'm sure my mother-in-law's thrilled that I'm doing a show on a Friday while she's here for just a couple of days. What about Harvey? Is he going to have to wait until her lawyers sneaked onto their phones? Didn't he move to Tallahassee? I don't know if Harvey... Have we heard, does Harvey have a place up there now, Joe? Is that ever been
I don't know.
Okay.
I assume he's got something if he's there, but I have not heard. Doesn't he still have all those properties there?
I don't know if they're down in South Florida up there.
Oh, that's sure. Right. They're probably more like Miami in that area.
Yeah. So, Joey, final question to you is now that she's been moved, and these are, we joke, but these are tax dollars at work here. By the way, look at this. AA says it's small and hot. Before I ask you my question, Joey, what about these jails in the summer months? Right now, it's June 6th. It gets awfully muggy and hot in Florida. Do these jails have AC? It might be a situation where she's got to be careful what she wishes for, because it might be real awful there. Do we know?
Every jail is different. So, and a lot of these jails are old, and a lot of these jails probably because they're old. Florida's hot and humid. You're probably gonna have mold, and they're supposed to have central air, but a lot of these jails don't because they're old and they're all or they're outdated and they need maintenance. So, and Florida, the DOC is strapped for money, so it's not going to be comfortable.
But she can't do both. If it's accurate that her lawyers asked for the change so that she could get access to a tablet or be more accessible to them, then she can't then complain about the move. She can't have it both ways. I mean, she may try, but she can't have it both ways.
Yeah. Michael Schaub here, new name. Welcome to all the new names and the old names. What is going on? If you're just joining, Donna Sue Adelson, who was set to go on trial 3 days ago in Leon County has now been moved out of Leon County to neighboring Wakulla County into a holding jail there with about a third of the number of people. And the lawyers apparently for her said that she didn't have enough access to the tablets needed to prepare for her upcoming trial, and that I guess the tablets are more readily available. By the way, Joey, how does that work? I mean, I assume not every inmate is getting a tablet. Are there a certain amount allotted for a certain period of time? How does that work?
I guess it depends on the institution and the inmates and the protocols at each institution, when it comes to the tablet. Because usually the tablets are like for legal purposes only, or emails to your loved ones. That's it. There's no internet and stuff like that. So institution to institution sets their own standards.
Yeah. Anna Fernandez, Wakulla is not air conditioned. That's giving me a headache just because I think it was 2 weeks ago, we lost all power in our house. And I'm telling you, in like a matter of 2 hours, it was stifling. I mean, the dogs were on their sides panting. Muggs, I agree with you 100%. If you get all of your news from one source, you need, as Steve Cohen would say, a check up and the neck up. And that goes with a caveat, though. Unless it's STS, then you can get all of your news from one single source. And Bureau of Prisons, I'll negotiate. I'll give you exclusive rights to our content for $275 million, 10% going to Joey Rojas. So, Joe Pachuto, while I have you here, and I'm going to scroll down for the questions. Luis Rivera, we talked a little bit about this one day. Well, he is got his own story as well in the local newspapers and media in Tallahassee just today, because he's one of the two convicted hitmen in this 2014 murder of Dan Markel. He was being held, still is, at the Mariana Federal Correction Institute, but he's going to be released from federal custody on June 30th, 2025. Actually, Joey, let me come to you first on this. So he's getting released from federal custody. He's one of the hitmen, but he's being moved directly into Florida State Prison. So I'm not even sure. I should know this. I don't know where Mariana is. He's a pretty hard and tough guy. I don't think he's going to have too much trouble adjusting, but what is the transition from federal to state prison to serve out the remaining 6 or 7 years? What's that going to be like for him?
Well, Mariana's, I've been up there a couple of times. That's like an hour away from Tallahassee. So it'll be, the DOC, Department of Corrections, is probably a lot more tougher to do your time than the federal prison system. So it won't be as lackadaisical, I would say lax, but it'll be a lot more tougher work. I work both. I work DOC and I work the feds. DOC is a lot tougher. So it's less restrictive movement, more rules. It's a lot more tougher to do your time in the state of Florida than doing your time in the federal system. I'll just leave it at that.
Joe Pachuto, of all the complete dum-dums involved in this case, I guess Luis Rivera might be having the last laugh. So he is going to be moved again on June 30th, and he's going to be transferred to a state prison. This is part of the 19-year deal. He's got about 7 to 7.5 years left, but it's going to be closer to 5 to 6 years, and he's going to be out for the murder of Dan Markel. How do you feel about this? Is the system skewed? Is there a problem that he's going to be out in 5 years, and let's say Katie Magbanua, she's in for the rest of her life, or should they all just rot in prison the rest of their lives?
Well, I suppose you could say that if you had enough evidence without one of them providing evidence for you. And he was the one who turned first, so he gets the best deal out of it. He provided evidence against the others. Now, in a perfect world, you'd like to be able to say you should be able to make a case against everyone without getting somebody who's a murderer get a deal in order to get the others. But we don't live in a perfect world. And he's getting what he got because he provided very important evidence and was credible on the witness stand. You may recall, Joe, I think it was Marsha Jordan who might have said that he did not want to serve the last part of the sentence in a state facility. He wanted to serve it all in a federal facility. Joey, you're right. He thought, that's kind of the country club of jails. And it'll be interesting to see. My guess would be he's not going to be serving the last few years in a Florida facility because he's still got the gang, and he's still, informed on others. So he's still, I think, at risk. So they may put him somewhere other than Florida for the next 5.5 or 6 years.
Joey, what do you think about that? I mean, this is a Latin King. He's the only one who's a genuine Latin King gang member. I think he dropped out of school in 6th grade. I mean, he has a long rap sheet, to say the least. But he did, I guess, rat. He gave the government information. Is his life in jeopardy in a state prison in Florida now?
Anytime you so-called be a rat, you're always going to have your life in jeopardy, even in the federal system as well. So anytime you got that stigma and you turn turncoat, yes. And there's probably less cameras in the state compared to the federal. So my answer would be definitely a yes.
And by the way, Joey, how recent are these tablets? I mean, how long have they been around for that they've switched over to this?
Maybe. I know in the feds, I can only speak for the feds, it's probably been 4 or 5 years now since they got the tablets. And like I said, they are monitored, and they're only for quote unquote email purposes and legal purposes only. There's no internet and stuff, surfing like that. So it's just strictly to communicate with the family members and legal services. That's it.
Yeah. Well, listen, we threw this show together because I was getting so many calls and messages, including from other media outlets, saying, hey, what's going on here? And we do have the best sources on this story for sure. And so, we got cracking. And it appears, if you're joining us just now, that Donna Adelson was moved today at 4:44:06. That's at least when the alert came in. She was moved from her beloved home of Tallahassee that she loves being in so much in Leon County over to Wakulla County, the neighboring county, which I think the COE did a Google map search, and it's about 12.5 miles or 30 minutes away. And she better get used to that commute because she's in court 2 different times next week. And I'm going to get with the COE. Maybe I should go up to Tallahassee for the 2 hearings next week. But I'm only doing it if I can fly up there because that drive never, ever ends. Joe Patuto, when you're in Jersey, you can look at things like there's buildings, and not on the way up to Tallahassee from Miami. It's a long drive.
Just see grass, is that it?
You're just seeing flat land. There's not a lot of hills here in Florida. It's good for marathoners, except for the heat, I guess. So Joe Patuto, for those who don't know, she is the professor. She is Professor Emerita, University of Nebraska Law, friend of ours, friend of the show, former STS Nationer, current STS Nationer, because she still watches and gives us feedback as a professor would do, which I love. Joe Patuto, by the way, Luis Rivera is expected again to testify at the Donna's upcoming trial. Maybe they want to monitor the lawyers. That's coming from a lawyer in Miami, Alice Reiter-Feld. Joe Patuto, I'm going to leave it wide open for you here. Your final thoughts with Donna Adelson. She's on a field trip. She's probably arrived at her new home in Wakulla County.
Yeah. Well, I recall you saying, Joel, a while ago, you didn't know what we were going to fill the air with once this trial was moved again. And so I suppose of all of us in STS Nation, you should be the one who is grateful that the lawyers, at least, and Donna, with regard to her complaints about the jail, have kept her name at the head of the line. And it seems to me there isn't a week when there isn't 1 or 2 stories. And, now we've got the appeal of the motion to have Judge Everett removed from the case, and 2 motions next week, 1 on venue. And they've got the motions with regard to the testimony of Sarah Youssef in particular. And I just saw that deposition, and I can see why Wendi might want that deposition kept out. And there seems
by the way,
to be
Joe, I'm sorry, I'm interrupting for a reason. But Grambalon, can you follow up with highlights from Sarah Youssef's depot. It's got some juicy info. We're doing a show on this on Monday. I don't even think Joe knows this yet, so we're going to reach out to Joe and we're
Yeah,
going to
I
break down.
can, but if you want to wait until Monday,
Yeah, we'll wait till Monday. We're going to do a full. We
that's
were
fine.
planning on doing that, but
That's fine.
go ahead, Joe. I mean, you can finish.
Yeah,
that yourself.
so it seems to me if past is prelude, there's going to be something about Donna every week until the trial. And a lot of it's going to be, I don't want to say annoying, but that is how I feel. Annoying in that a lot of the motions are not going to will not seem to have much merit. Now I understand lawyers have to preserve for the record and, but some of this seems to me to just be make work in terms of the lawyers and the judges and the prosecutor and everybody else. So that's what I predict. And the other thing I have to say is Joey, is the Positano you've got there on the Amalfi Coast? Beautiful.
Oh, he's muted. I'm
Beautiful.
sorry. Joey's muted. Yeah, there you go. Look at this. Cooler by the lake. I'd like to be a fly on the wall when Donna finds out. What do you mean there's no way? What do you say?
Well, they should have checked before she decided she wanted to be closer to somewhere where she could have use of a tablet more regularly.
Joey Rojas, thank you, Joe. He is a New Yorker originally. He worked Department of Corrections in Florida, 94 to 95, Federal Bureau of Prisons, 95 to 2023. It's funny. I always feel like being like a kindergarten teacher. I was in my kids' kindergarten classes is one of the toughest jobs. You need the patience of a saint. But then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I think being a Bureau of Prisons worker, corrections officer, has got to be an unbelievably stressful and difficult job. So you're dealing with, 5-year-olds in both situations, but some are adult 5-year-olds. But Joey Rojas, to you, do they get fans when she starts whining about, oh, it's so hot in here, I can't believe, like, do they get fans in these jail cells?
No. Suck it up, buttercup. Nothing. Like anybody else. Like you said, be careful what you wish for. You want to transfer? All right. No AC. It's going to be rough.
I have a feeling, Joe Pato, we might be back tomorrow for the show on her being transferred to the Wakulla County Hospital. We'll be here for that one tomorrow. She'll be on a wheelchair. Our friend Lori Vallow was thrown out of court today. I think she was allowed back in, but at least I caught the part where she was thrown out. Joey Rojas, thank you so much for hopping on with us. COE asking me, yes, I do. I would like, they're having pizza next door. My mother-in-law's here. Quite the adventure. But Joey Rojas, thank you again. What is your final take on this? She's moved. Is she going to stay here, you think, now and through the duration of this trial? Is there any way to know? And if you're advising her, let's say you're out and you have your own prison/jail consulting business, what are you advising Donna Adelson tonight?
Just stay low, keep your mouth shut, listen to your lawyers, don't cause any troubles. Don't bring attention to yourself, especially in prison.
Good advice and hard for her to follow.
Yes.
There you go. And you got the New York, Jersey attitude right there. We got two. Joe's from Jersey. Joe, you from New York originally?
Yes, I grew up in the Bronx and Long Island. I'm actually going to my 40th class reunion in July in North Babylon.
Boston's playing New York tonight.
Oh, there you go.
I believe.
As in the Yankees and Sox. There we go. Joey, I don't think my dad grew up on the Grand Concourse, off the Grand Concourse in the Bronx. So my dad was a New Yorker. But thank you again. The headline, Donna Adelson moved from Leon County in Tallahassee to Wakulla. Thanks to Joe Rojas. Thanks to Joe Pato. 2 Joes are better than 3 Joels.
No Joes.
Yeah. No Joes at all. We'll be back full force on Monday. Who knows? Maybe I'll go up to Tallahassee. I need a little bit of a mental break. What better way to do it than to go watch Donna?
Well, enjoy the party. I assume the graduation went well.
My daughter is fully a 5th grade graduate.
There you go.
Just moving up in the world. Yeah. Thank you so much. All right, everybody. See you Monday. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.